Hi, welcome back to Library at Sherry. So this week we're gonna start a new series. It's called Dr. House in the Lab. Last week we finished all the reactions on the Pit series, and the new season is not gonna coming up until next year. So in the meantime, we're gonna do some hospital laboratory explanations on House MD series. There are a few reasons I choose this show as an anchor point to do the laboratory explanations. One is because this is one of the most popular medical drama in the history, so many of you probably already watched it. And the other reason is I watched this show back when I was in school. I was fascinated by all these dramatic scenes they created in this show, all the drama turn points on the cases. They really did a great job of creating a mystery question and then solve it in a way to make you feel like, oh my goodness, this is such a brilliant doctor team. I get that, and I really like the show. But now, since I worked in this field for over a decade, when I think about this show again, besides all these happy memories, I also start to realize a lot of things they shoot in House MD is actually far away from what reality is. So I would like to pull out some clips and watch together with you today and tell you what actually it would be like in the real life. The point is not to say House MD is a bad show. My point is, sometimes when a lot of people watching medical dramas, they don't realize how much we overlook the laboratory work. And being a medical laboratory scientist myself, I would like to actually now stand in front of the stage and shout to everybody, we exist, we're important too. So let's get this started. We are starting from season 1.
What are you doing?
Waiting for CBC and Chem 7.
Good. Run DNA on these.
What's this?
Karen's coffee cups.
I can't believe
I've
you.
had this conversation once already. If you got something else to do, do it. Otherwise, do this.
This is a clip from season 1, episode 2. It is a case, the sick patient is an adopted kid, and his sickness was connected all the way back to his biological mother and the initial vaccination status. In this scene, Dr. House and his student was all in a medical lab or a research lab. They are waiting for chemistry panels, and then they also want to run the parents' DNA test. Well, there is so many things wrong over here. So first, the doctors doesn't just walk into the lab, run the test on themselves. That's our job, but that's not theirs. Not even the pathologist, the lab doctor's job. Okay, so I know some of the people probably thinking maybe they are in a specialized research lab that was stand alone from the normal clinical labs, but that's also not true. In fact, in a hospital lab, the things they mentioned like a Chem 7, those kind of things are definitely going to a clinical lab that run by us, medical laboratory scientists. And if they want to run a DNA test, that would be a specimen that they send to us, and then we will send it out to a special reference laboratory and waiting for a result back. And back in the days when this Dr. House show was shooting, it would take quite a few days to do that. The only chance a doctor might be reading the Chem 7 results from the analyzer itself would be more like the Pit series, that doctors will be holding a point of care like iStat to reading from the iStat screen himself. But in all the other scenarios, it would be sending a blood sample to the lab, and once it's in the lab, the doctors are not in there. And a real clinical laboratories would be very huge. It would take a whole floor. Smaller hospitals, it might be able to squeeze in a 1,000 square feet space, but most of the larger hospitals, like where Dr. House is working at, the clinical laboratory would actually take in the entire floor. Yeah, it is that big. When you take a tour in the hospital lab, it would take you a good half of the day. And if you want to count in all the other special testing, like the special chemistry, immunology, cytology, blah, 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 all this department that you don't normally get in touch with, it would be even bigger, taking 2 or 3 floors. And no, our doctors has their own room to sitting comfortable together with their microscopes. They don't normally sitting inside the clinical labs together with the analyzers.
Okay. I'm going to push the needle into your hip bone and take some of the marrow.
That's not so bad.
That was just the anesthetic. marrow makes the blood cells. We take a peek at it under a microscope. Maybe we find a viral infection. Maybe we find some fibrosis. Something to explain why your blood count is so low.
This scene is where I pulled from episode 3. This is a kid was coming to hospital with night terror. On the way of they are trying to figure out what's wrong with this kid, he got severely immunocompromised. So they decide to do a bone marrow sample. And in this scene, they let the doctor intern to take his bone marrow. However, in the reality, what happens would be a nurse going over to take the bone marrow, and it would be a lot of people in that room. This is not a procedure that's done in a high volume on a day-to-day basis. So whenever this happened, you probably could expect some students will be on the side to observe, like the student from the nursing side and also student from the laboratory side. Normally, this suction procedure will be performed by a nurse, and then standing right at the bedside, it will be 1 or 2 lab techs or laboratory scientists, or whatever the title you would want to call us. We'll be waiting over there and start to do the slides poll immediately, right at the bedside. So in that room, it will be the patient and a group of nurses and a group of laboratory scientists. And by the way how he numbing this patient is actually kind of weird too. I've seen quite a few times this procedure done in front of me, and a lot of those experienced nurses, they would actually stabbing right onto the patient's bone to numbing it, to make sure the patient feel least amount of the pain as possible when they actually perform the procedure. And a lot of patients actually telling us, instead of compared to pain, it's more feel like a weird soreness suctions from when they pull the bone marrow out. And fun fact, historically, it could be also taking the bone marrows from your chest area. It would be a lot more scarier than taking it from your hip. And the laboratory scientist or lab tech, whoever involved in this part of the procedure, would be someone coming from hematology department. All right, so next clip.
Which drug's causing the kidney failure?
It's like I said, it's always MRSA in hospitals. Take them off Astria now.
I still think it's the Pseudomonas. I vote to take him off the vancomycin.
There's no point in guessing. Take one kid off vancomycin, the other off Astria now.
They have the same disease. You want to give them different treatments?
What the hell are you doing?
Therapeutic trial to find the cause of the infection.
That's wrong.
This clip is coming from the 4th episode. What happens over here is Dr. House has a handful of sick babies. At this stage, he trying to figure out if the babies is getting MRSA or Pseudomonas infections. Although at the end of this series, we all know the babies are getting viral infections. But at this point, they think it's bacterial. What's funny about this part is they are trying to decide in between MRSA and Pseudomonas. To people who doesn't know clinical microbiology, you probably think, oh, that's such a tough decision, and this make a huge peak of drama in the show. But for us who actually work in the lab, when we see this, we kind of just chuckle and screaming, why don't you asking us? MRSA is a gram-positive cocci, and Pseudomonas is gram-negative rods. So they look very different under microscope. A MRSA would be something looks like a cluster of purple dots, and a Pseudomonas would be a bunch of pink rods. So they are very different under microscope. If they actually swab the baby and send things into the laboratories, we would be able to tell them which exactly they got. Since the baby was super sick, if they actually did have bacterial infections, we would be able to actually see something under the microscope. Both MRSA and Pseudomonas, they are fast-growing bacteria. If they send us specimens from these babies, and if they actually got bacterial infections of any of this, the plates would be having really great culture growing out just by overnight incubation. So no, this thing in real life will never be exist. Plus, nowadays we actually got PCR testing that can tell you if somebody's specimen contains MRSA gene fragments. There are many analyzers could do this. Ovotech, Gene Expert, they all have analyzers can give you quick result within just an hour.
No, no blood. Not mine.
For the test, Dr. House told me about it.
You're gonna steal it. Sell it. No. No blood. No. No blood. No! No blood!
Calvo, 5 milligrams stack.
No! 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 Oh, no! Oh, no!
This scene is another one totally not going to happen in the real life. So first of all, for a lot of difficulty patients, they will be having a PICC line implanted into them the first second they became an inpatient, because you don't want to fight with them and then accidentally stabbing them or yourself. And the PICC line's job is to having a line that you can go to draw blood out from it without jump scare the patient with needles or having them experience the needle poking pain over and over again while they're staying in the hospital. If the patient refuses the PICC line, or for some reason we decide to not put a PICC line in a patient, a doctor would be the last choice on the list of drawing this patient, because all these other professions exist. They had more training about how to draw a patient's blood. For example, phlebotomist, that's a sub-laboratory division. IV nurse, that's a sub-nursing division. These two would be your first line choice of getting a blood draw. And then you have your bedside nurses. They are also trained on how to draw blood. They're good at it. And ER techs, who also draw a lot of difficulty patients in the ED. It's not like you can't call them asking for help. Right before the doctors, you still having people like me, laboratory scientists. One thing that might surprise you, although we work inside the lab, typically we don't have a direct patient contact. Our license actually covers the training and the certifications of drawing a patient's blood legally. In the rural area, laboratory scientists will still occasionally go onto the floor drawing some blood during the peak morning time for the morning rounds.
Mixing up some margaritas? Mine's a double, senorita. That's Portuguese, you know.
Spanish.
Uh-oh. What's going on?
I'm recalibrating the centrifuge.
This is gonna be the last episode we're going on explanation today. This is from episode 7, where we have a doctor inside the lab saying she is recalibrating a centrifuge. Well, we're not going to let you get into the lab nor calibrate any analyzers for us. Analyzers like centrifuge in the lab, they're not getting recalibrated randomly. Actually, we will have an assigned schedule of doing calibrations on them. Some of the more frequent ones may be every quarter of the year. Some less frequent ones may be every half year or every year. When they've been recalibrated, all that, many signatures will need to be done, and then the record need to be kept secure, either with the analyzer itself or within somebody's office. So we know this centrifuge is accurate through the time until the next time we calibrate it. And even during the middle of the operations, if at any point you get an error message and say you probably should rebalance, recalibrate this centrifuge, it's not gonna be like you just standing there and keep pulling stuff out or putting stuff in. A lot of the calibrations are done by you will spin the centrifuge with your hand and let it slow down by itself until it's completely stopped. During that slowing down process, this centrifuge will recalibrate the speed and the balance on itself to a point, and then it re-register everything. And if it's failed that quite a few times, you would have to call a team to swap it with a backup centrifuge or something like that. But it's not going to be a doctor just walking to the lab and all of a sudden saying, I just decided to recalibrate this analyzer today. That's not good for the workflow. That's not good for the analyzer either. And I really don't like that glass door of their laboratories, because we would love some privacies. So there you go. That's the first 7 episodes of House MD. What's the difference between the drama and the reality? I hope you enjoy my explanations and this new series. If you are a writer, either for a book or a script for a show, hopefully this will help your work. And if you're a medical drama lover, I hope I'm not turning you down. My point is telling you what's the difference between the drama and the reality, not to destroy your happy memories, because I like this show too. Remember to subscribe me and give me a thumbs up. This is Library Sherry. I'll see you in the next episode.